On the 6th of June 2014, most of the world will remember the 70th anniversary of the Allied operation that launched the successful invasion of Nazi-occupied Western Europe. A military operation which is also known as the D-Day or under its code name Operation Overlord. During this operation, up to 4,500 Allied soldiers lost their lives. We have heard the names Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. The beaches where the Allied military units disembarked on the coast of Normandy in France. However, it is not easy to visualize the reality, so I would like to offer you now an opportunity to fly with me over the disembarkation beaches and see it all for yourself. The Allies have chosen a rather deserted coast of Normandy, northwest of the city of Caen, in order to avoid the bigger ports where the German forces were expecting them. In just the first day of the operation, about 200,000 Allied soldiers were transported onto the beaches. I flew from the west to the east, so my video starts on Juno Beach, where American units disembarked. The disembarkation on Juno Beach was so successful because this part of the coast was not so well defended by the Germans. Also, the preliminary Allied bombing made a lot of damage, and altogether 28 amphibian tanks made it to the coast. The success was, to a degree, aided by a small navigational mistake, which meant that the soldiers reached the coast at a point which was less defended than the originally planned area. The assault was at the same time supported by soldiers transported beyond the German lines in gliders and by paratroopers who attacked the German fortifications from inland. Here we are leaving Juno Beach and fly over to Pointe, which borders with Omaha Beach. Pointe is remembered for the heaviest fighting. More than 200 men of the 2nd Ranger Battalion had to overcome 30 meters high cliffs with ropes and ladders to destroy the gun battery located there. They climbed the cliffs under heavy machine gun fire and lost over 60% of their men. It took 2 days to rescue the survivors from a pocket in which they got isolated. American units also disembarked at Omaha Beach. Here the losses were most heavy because the preliminary bombarding of German positions was not as effective as at Utah or other sections. The soldiers were therefore disembarking from their transport ships under a crossfire of German machine guns. The American amphibian tanks did not mostly manage to make it to the shore because of high winds and seas. Therefore, this section of the coast has also been called the Bloody Omaha. The Allied military units needed a huge amount of fuel for their tanks, armored cars and other motorized vehicles. A special pipeline under the sea from Britain to Normandy was built within the first 2 days of the invasion. The pipeline ended here at Port-en-Bessin, from where it was distributed to the fighting units. Past Omaha lies the next beach codenamed Gold. Here about 25,000 British troops disembarked. At least 413 of them lost their life here. Close to the town of Arromanches, next to Gold Beach, we can still see the remains of Mulberry Bee artificial harbor, also known as Port Winston. The complete Mulberry Harbor was made of about 600,000 tons of concrete between 33 jetties and had 15 kilometers of floating roadways connecting them to the land. Altogether, 2.5 million men, 500,000 vehicles and 4 million tons of supplies were shipped through here between June 14 and November 19 when the harbor was in use. This is already Juno Beach, where the Canadian and partly also British troops disembarked. Altogether about 15,000 men. Out of these, at least 340 lost their lives here. Juno Beach is about 10 kilometers long, and all the towns and villages around were occupied and fortified by the German military. This was the second best protected disembarkation beach after Omaha. About 1/3 of the landing ships were destroyed here by the German naval mines and by underwater cliffs. The easternmost disembarkation sector was the 8 kilometers long Sword Beach. Here about 29,000 British soldiers and 177 soldiers of the Free French landed. Their military objective was to take over the city of Caen and its airport Carpiquet. They managed to achieve this goal within the first 2 days. From Normandy, the Allied armies continued further into Europe. Paris was liberated on the 25th of August, Brussels on the 3rd of September, Luxembourg on the 10th of September, Strasbourg on the 23rd of November 1944, and Pilsen on the 6th of May 1945. D-Day was the greatest amphibious operation the world has ever seen.